I walked into my brother's birthday with a gift I'd spent weeks finding, holding it like it actually meant something. The music was loud, laughter spilling through the house, lights glowing warm and fake. For a second, I almost believed I belonged there. Then my mom saw me from across the room, froze for a heartbeat, and said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "Oh, you weren't on the guest list? Must have been a mistake." The room quieted. It only lasted 3 seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. Faces turned. A few people tried to laugh it off. My brother smirked. I didn't say a word. I just walked past them, into the kitchen, and set the gift down beside the cake. Then I left. No one followed. Out in the parking lot, the cool night air hit me hard. I sat in my car and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, wondering why I even came. Why I kept showing up for people who wouldn't cross the street for me. My phone buzzed with the faint echo of party laughter still bleeding through the windows. I looked down at the wrapped box on my passenger seat, the signed, authenticated jersey from the team Travis had obsessed over since we were kids. The one I spent several $100s on. I had tracked down a contact I hadn't spoken to in years just to make it happen. Pulled every string, paid extra for rush delivery. I even wrapped it myself carefully. No card, just clean folds on perfect paper. Stupid, I should have known better. We hadn't spoken since the mortgage fight. He and his girlfriend wanted to buy a condo, couldn't qualify on their own. So they asked me to co-sign not lend, co-sign tie my credit to their debt. When I said no, they flipped. Shouting match, slammed doors, and that was it. 2 months of silence. They moved in with my parents, and Mom acted like I'd thrown them out into the street. She made it sound like I'd ruined their lives, like my refusal was some betrayal instead of a boundary. Never mind the $2,200 I gave Dad last year and told him not to pay back. Or the groceries I bought, or the bills I covered. It all disappeared the second I said, I can't help this time. But I still showed up, because I thought it was the right thing. Because I still believed in some version of family that probably never existed. Dad texted me the address. You can drop by. Not you're invited, just drop by. That should have told me everything. Yet there I was, standing in a room full of people I barely knew anymore, pretending I was part of it. When Mom humiliated me, something inside me went quiet, sharp, final. By the time I reached my car, the decision was already made. No hesitation, no guilt. I opened my phone, scrolled through my old cloud folder, and found it the 37-second video Travis's old roommate had sent me 2 years ago. I hadn't watched it since. He was drunk one night, venting, told me he had dirt on my brother. I told him not to, but he sent it anyway. Travis, half naked, on a couch, making out with a girl who definitely wasn't his wife. It wasn't new enough to be dismissed as old, not old enough to be harmless. I had kept it locked away, untouched, like a fuse waiting for the match. I uploaded IT private link, no hashtags, no caption except one line, for my brother. Happy birthday. Then I texted the link directly to his wife, Emily. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded. Calls, messages, chaos. Mom called 9 times, Dad once, then texted, please delete it. We need to talk. A teen reply. I didn't need to. For once, they could feel what it was like to be on the wrong end of silence. I started driving, no destination, windows down, air cutting through the noise in my head. My phone kept buzzing on the seat beside me until I turned it off. What surprised me most wasn't the panic. It was how quickly their power vanished. Inside that house, they'd been smug, comfortable, untouchable. 10 minutes later, they were begging. They weren't used to me standing up. I'd always been the quiet one, the safe one, the forgiver. But not anymore. I ended up at a 24-hour diner a few towns over. Ordered coffee I didn't drink. I just sat there staring at the black surface of the cup, watching my reflection ripple every time the AC kicked on. I replayed the moment in the kitchen, the cake, the gift, the silence. The humiliation had felt final. But now it didn't sting. It felt justified. They thought I'd stay small forever. They thought I'd never fight back. By 1 a.m., I connected to the diner's Wi-Fi and checked the video link. The view count was at 183. I hadn't shared it publicly, just sent it to Emily. That meant someone she trusted had already passed it along. Probably to Travis. Maybe to everyone. I didn't care. The secret was out. And for the first time in years, the power wasn't theirs. Anymore, it was mine. Then the email came. No greeting, no signature, just one sentence. You broke up my family. I hope it was worth it. I stared at the words for a long time, Emily. The only person in that family who ever treated me with any decency. I didn't know what I felt. Not guilt, exactly. Just the weight of how far things had gone. She deserved to know the truth. Travis didn't deserve her. A few hours later, I was back in my car. Drove aimlessly, streets empty, sky gray. When I finally reached my apartment at 4:30 a.m., I turned my phone on again. 17 missed calls. 8 from Travis, 4 from Mom, 3 from Dad, 2 from unknown numbers. I didn't check the voicemails. But there was one text that made me pause. Emily again. I always wondered. He said I was paranoid. He made me feel crazy. Then another. I left. No anger, no tears. Just finality. That was when I realized what I'd done wasn't just revenge. It was truth finally catching up. And for once, I didn't feel like the villain. I felt freed out the next morning. I woke up to a string of notifications that blurred together into a single thread of noise calls, messages, emails. Even a voicemail from my father that began with my name and ended with a threat disguised as concern. You're going to fix this, he said, his voice low, cold, deliberate. Like this was just another chore I'd forgotten to do. That was the moment I realized they still didn't get it. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a tool, a resource, a problem solver who was supposed to quietly absorb every blow. I called him back. He answered instantly, as if he'd been waiting. You're blowing up your own family over nothing, he said, not even pretending to sound upset. Just annoyed. I could hear Mom in the background whispering, probably coaching him on what to say. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I just listened as he painted my actions as selfish, dramatic, ungrateful. Then he said something that stuck to me like poison. You've always been the quiet one, the safe one. Don't start pretending you're some kind of hero. That's when I hung up, because he was right about one thing. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was just done being their fool. Over the next few days, everything started to unravel. I heard through a mutual friend that Emily had left for good. She'd packed her things, taken her car, and left the keys on the counter with the wedding ring. No note, no goodbye. Just silence. My mom, of course, couldn't handle that. She sent a group text to our extended family. Please pray for our family during this difficult time. No context, just vague drama to reel people in. Within hours, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were messaging me, asking if I was okay, what had happened, if I'd really lost it. Then one of them, Danny, called me. My mom said you had some kind of breakdown, he said cautiously, like he was afraid I'd confirm it. She said you doctored a video to make Travis look bad. Said you've been unstable for months. Actually laughed. A full, sharp, bitter laugh that made him go quiet. Emotional abuse, manipulation, instability, all? The things they accused me of were just shields to protect Travis. I knew it immediately. They weren't going to apologize. They were going to bury me. They couldn't stand that I had taken away their power, so they twisted the story, made me the villain again. I stopped answering messages after that. I went to work, did my job, tried to ignore the pit forming in my stomach. Then came the call's anonymous numbers. Blocked IDs. One asked if my company monitored employees' online behavior. Another asked if I had a habit of sharing private videos. It didn't take long before HR called me in. I sat across from them in a small glass-walled room, explaining that someone from my personal life was trying to smear me. They listened, nodded, believed me, but the warning was clear. Be careful, they said. Anything online can spiral. When I left the meeting, I knew exactly who was behind it. My family wasn't just angry, they were trying to ruin me. So I did what they never thought I would. I prepared to fight back. That night, I gathered everything, every transfer, every Venmo receipt, every PayPal confirmation, every message where they'd asked for a little help just this once. I organized them into folders labeled by year. 2020, each file filled with reminders of all the times I'd bailed them out. Utility bills, car repairs, emergency groceries, rent gaps, medical copays, temporary loans that were never repaid. I named the folder Unpaid Debts Family. I didn't know yet what I'd do with it, but just building it made me feel calm. It was like stacking bricks after years of being buried under them. Then the vandalism happened. My car parked outside my apartment, keyed from front to back. Deep, jagged lines, like someone had carved their anger into the paint. I filed a police report and attached everything Travis's threatening texts. The timeline, even a screenshot of Dad's last message. I didn't want anyone arrested. I just wanted a record. A line in the sand. That evening, my phone rang again. "Dad, you're ruining this family," he said, voice rising. I stayed quiet. "You're not getting another dollar from me," he added, like it was supposed to scare me. I laughed. "You haven't given me a dollar since I was 17. Silence. So I went on. "But since you mentioned money, maybe you should remember the $2,200 I gave you. The groceries I paid for. The repairs. The bills. You didn't think I kept records." He didn't answer. Just heavy breathing. Then the click of the line disconnecting. That was the last time we spoke. I thought that would be the end of it, but they weren't done. 2 days later, I got called back into HR. Anonymous complaint. Cyber harassment. Digital manipulation. Intent to cause emotional harm. Their words, not mine. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. My family was trying to take my job now. I knew what I had to do. I opened a blank email, attached a document titled Summary of Loans and Unrepaid Support, and sent it to my father. I CC'd my mother. IBCCD my lawyer. The subject line read, Notice of Financial Action Pending. Less than half an hour later, my phone rang. It was my mom. No hello, no hesitation. "You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't sue your own father." Her voice cracked, but not with sadness, with fear. I didn't answer. She filled the silence with the usual script, how this would hurt everyone. How I was being selfish, how I was tearing the family apart. Then, finally, her tone shifted. Cold, resigned. "Fine," she said. "Do what you have to do. Just know we're done." Then she hung up. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like chasing after her. I didn't feel like apologizing. I just sat there in the dark, my laptop screen glowing, the quiet hum of the city outside. I thought that would be the last noise of the night. But at 10:40 p.m., there was a knock at my door. 3 slow, steady taps. I looked through the peephole and froze. It was Emily. She stood there in the dim hallway light, hair tied back, wearing the same gray hoodie she used to borrow from me on cold nights. For a second, I thought I was imagining her, that maybe my mind had conjured her up because I hadn't processed everything yet. But then she whispered my name, soft and trembling, and the illusion broke. I opened the door without a word. She looked exhausted, eyes red, face pale. There was a small suitcase behind her, scuffed and dirty. Like she hadn't planned this trip but ran out of options halfway through. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. The air between us was thick, heavy with everything we hadn't said. She didn't sit. She just stood near the window, looking out, hands shaking slightly. "They told me you'd lost it," she finally said. "That you were threatening them. That you'd changed." I almost laughed. "I didn't change," I said. "I stopped pretending." She nodded slowly, biting her lip like she was fighting tears. "I didn't know what to believe," she whispered. "They said you tried to ruin Travis's life." "Travis ruined his own life," I said flatly. "I just stopped covering for him." She turned to me then, really looked at me. And I could see the realization flicker in her eyes, the recognition of who I had become. Or maybe who I'd been all along, but had hidden behind politeness and obligation. "He's gone," she said. "I don't know where. Your mom said he moved out, that he's not answering calls. Your dad's been drinking again." Her voice broke on the last word, and I could tell she was still caught between loyalty and guilt. "You came here for them or for me?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she sat down finally on the edge of the couch. "I came because I can't sleep," she said quietly. "Every time I close my eyes, I hear your mom's voice. The way she talks about you. Like you're some monster she has to warn everyone about. And I just keep wondering if maybe I let that happen." I sat across from her, watching her twist her hands in her lap. For a moment, I saw the version of us that might have existed if my family hadn't poisoned everything Sunday mornings. Coffee, soft laughter. Then I remembered the text she'd sent me weeks ago when everything exploded. "I can't take sides." That was the message that ended it. And I realized I didn't want her apology now. "Emily," I said, steady and calm, "you believed them because it was easier than believing me. Because I was the quiet one. The one who wouldn't fight back." She started crying then, quietly, like she didn't want to, like she didn't deserve to. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have known." I nodded, not out of forgiveness, but understanding. We were both products of the same manipulation. We'd both been pulled in by the same gravity. "You should go," I said finally. Her head snapped up. "What?" "You came for peace, not reconciliation. There's none here." She looked like she wanted to argue, to beg me to say something softer, something that left a door open. But there were no doors left, only walls I'd built to survive. She stood slowly, grabbed her suitcase, and paused by the door. "They're scared of you now," she said, voice shaking. "They think you're planning something." "Good," I said. "Let them." After she left, I sat in the silence for a long time. The city outside buzzed faintly, indifferent to my private collapse. I went to my desk and opened my laptop again. The folder was still there, Unpaid Debts Family. I added another file, Collateral. It contained everything they'd ever said to me. Every recording, every voicemail, every screenshot where their true selves slipped through. I didn't plan to post it or share it, not yet. Just knowing it existed gave me control. Then I opened a blank document and started writing something different. A statement. A story, not for revenge, but for clarity. For years, I typed, I believed silence was safety. That love meant endurance. That family meant debt. But I was wrong. Silence was their weapon. Love was their currency. And family, I paused. Family was the lie they told to keep me loyal. I saved the file, named it Closure. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel scared. I felt clean. Empty, but clean. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a call or a message. It was a notification from my lawyer. "They've responded. Your father's retained counsel." I stared at the screen for a long time, then smiled. They were taking me seriously now. Finally, the court date came faster than I expected. My lawyer told me not to expect much, that family disputes like this rarely end with closure, just exhaustion. But I wasn't after money anymore. I was after acknowledgement. A single moment where they couldn't lie their way out. When I walked into the courthouse, I saw them sitting there, my parents on one side. Travis beside them in a cheap suit, pretending not to make eye contact. Mom wore her favorite pearl earrings, the ones she always used for important occasions. She looked calm, poised, ready to perform. Dad's jaw was clenched, and I could tell by the way his hand tapped his knee that he'd already been drinking. When they saw me, something shifted in their faces. It wasn't anger. It was fear. Because this time, I wasn't alone. I had files, dates, bank statements, screenshots, the quiet years of me being their invisible support system laid bare. The judge asked simple questions, straightforward, dates, amounts, evidence. I spoke clearly, each answer measured, not emotional. My parents' lawyer tried to twist it into a misunderstanding. Gifts, they called it. Family generosity. But when I read out one of Dad's texts, "I'll pay you back Friday," I swear even the judge raised an eyebrow. The silence that followed was thick enough to suffocate them. My mother's mask cracked for a second. She whispered something to Dad, who looked down and refused to meet my eyes. It wasn't victory I felt then, it was grief. The kind that seeps into your bones. That realization that the people you'd bled for will never see you as anything more than a threat once you stop bleeding for them. After the session, my lawyer said we had a strong case. "They'll settle," he said. "They always do when you've got receipts." He was right. 3 days later, I got the email on offer. A formal apology drafted by their attorney and a transfer of the full amount I'd documented. It wasn't about the money. It was about the silence that followed. No more calls. No more messages. Just quiet. You said. That night, I went for a walk through the city. The air was cool, heavy with rain, and for the first time in years, I felt weightless. I stopped by a small diner I used to go to after work, sat in a corner booth, ordered coffee, and watched people pass outside strangers with their own small storms. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. It was Travis. "You won," he said, voice low, almost calm. "They're broken." Didn't say anything. "You think this feels good now, but it won't," he continued. "You'll end up just like them, mangry, bitter, alone." I smiled faintly. "The difference," I said, "is I can live with myself." He hung up without another word. I finished my coffee in silence, then walked home under the streetlights, each step echoing like a heartbeat. When I got home, I opened my laptop one last time. The folders, unpaid debts, and collateral sat side by side on the desktop. I hovered over them, hesitating. Then I selected them both and pressed delete. The confirmation window popped up. "Are you sure?" I clicked yes. The files vanished, and for a moment it felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. I shut the laptop and looked around my small, quiet apartment. No ghosts, no noise. Just me, free. The next morning, I got up before dawn and drove out of the city. No destination, just movement. I watched the sky lighten in the rearview mirror, pink and gold bleeding into the horizon. Somewhere between the miles and the music, I realized something simple closure isn't justice. It's peace. It's the moment you stop waiting for an apology that will never come. By noon, I reached the ocean. The water was rough, the wind sharp, but I stood there anyway, letting it all wash over me. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like someone's son or brother or scapegoat. I just felt human, and that was enough.